Private jets are sleek, sexy, and fast. They can go almost anywhere in the world in style. Executives, sports figures, and movie stars have switched to private jets. We'll show you what $3 to $50 million will buy these demanding flyers. Since security is a constant concern, the plane and everyone on board must be kept safe. The job doesn't end until they make it to their final destination. If the work of NASA scientists pays off, private jet travel is something more of us are likely to experience. We'll show you what you can do when you have your own plane for a day. Buckle up for an ultra first-class trip aboard some of the fastest, most luxurious, dreamiest private jets ever seen. The time when air travel was a convenience seems like a thing of the past. Flight delays, cancellations, lost luggage, and long security lines have made air travel a frustrating experience that many are choosing to avoid. While commercial airline travel has fallen dramatically, the hassle factor has sent more flyers into the waiting arms of private jet providers. Instead of wasting time in airports, people can drive straight out onto the tarmac and climb aboard their waiting jet. They never have to worry about missing their flight. The pilots won't take off until the passengers are ready to go. Even if your pilot is actor and longtime aviation enthusiast John Travolta, you're in charge.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Your flying time today will be 2 hours. We are serving lunch, and the movie on board is Grease.
John Travolta isn't the only Hollywood celebrity to opt for private jet travel, but he's probably one of the most experienced, as he explained at a press conference.
I started flying in 1970 when I was 16 years old. I got my solo in 1974, my license in 78, my jet license in 81, and since then I've logged about 5,000 hours, mostly in jets, and most recently in my pride of joy.
His skill and enthusiasm prompted Qantas Airlines to restore his pride and joy, a vintage Boeing 707, and name him ambassador at large for a worldwide friendship tour.
I've always intrigued by the airline, and then simply by coincidence, I bought an ex-Qantas 707, which is the one you're filming me on. And they got wind of it when I flew down there to promote Swordfish, and they loved the connection.
Travolta enjoys taking wife Kelly Preston and children along for outings on his jets, but they're also business tools. Jets enable him to save time and protect his privacy as he flies himself, his employees, and his family to locations all over the world. You don't have to be a movie star to appreciate the convenience of private jets. Today, more and more travelers are discovering that they can relax or use the time aloft to conduct business. Onboard fax machines, instant internet access, satellite phones, and TV keep the airborne up to date, according to the president of the National Business Aviation Association, Jack Olcott.
A business aircraft is really an office that moves. As a result, you'll find that a lot of business is done en route.
As a business tool, it allows people to have private and secure face-to-face meetings.
Everyone on a business airplane is known either to the pilot or the lead passenger. So you can feel comfortable about discussing business because you're not concerned that the person next to you will be overhearing your conversation.
Whether you want to work on board or just unwind, you're likely to arrive at your destination calm, cool, and ready to go. That's why they're so popular with professional sports teams, like basketball's Orlando Magic. The Magic uses their own converted Boeing 737 to take some of the stress and strain out of a punishing 82-game season.
Well, flying commercial was tough. I mean, I kid with some of our younger guys that they have no idea what we had to go through.
It's probably been at least 15 years since NBA teams and other pro industries have flown any other way. It's been a long time since any of us have been on commercial airlines.
When we do our service, it's really nice because we have the same guys on board all the time. We know every drink that everybody likes. We know what they like to eat, how they like it heated up. After a while, it gets just to be, you smile as they come on board and you know exactly what to give them.
It's more than just great service and convenience.
The single most important thing that flying corporately like this does is it saves your players' legs and maybe even saves an NBA season.
Using private jets can improve a team's win-loss record, but having your own plane will enhance your standing in the locker room, according to NBA Hall of Famer and Indiana Pacers coach Isaiah Thomas.
You know, just like guys was talking about, well, I got a Mercedes-Benz or I got a Rolls-Royce. The next level was, okay, well, you got a Rolls-Royce, well, I got my plane. I send my plane to come get you.
Indianapolis 500 winner and racing team owner Bobby Rahal says one of the main attractions of using a private jet is speed.
Well, I love aviation. I love playing anything fast, you know, that kind of figures. You know, probably if I hadn't been a race car driver, I would have wanted to have been a fighter pilot or something, and, you know, it's kind of in your blood, I suppose.
Using a private jet allows Rahal to get in and out of remote racing venues quickly and back home to his family.
This day and age where time is so precious, and all the pressures that you face in terms of doing things with the time you've got, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
From a convenience standpoint and a time consumption standpoint, it's easier to fly and you make better use of your time. You don't have to worry about being delayed. You don't have to worry about sitting at the payphone call and saying, I'm sorry, I won't be there. You know, you got your own plane, so you just get up and go.
One way people save time is they can often land closer to their final destination due to the number of airports that can handle private jets.
There's nearly 10 times the number of business airports that there are commercial airports. There are about 500 commercial airports in the United States. There are about 5,000 airports that are open to business jets.
In some cases, these airports are a lot closer to downtown business centers. This convenience has spurred the use of private jets.
The growth in business jets and in personal aviation has been largely driven by the desire for people to have control over their schedules and the need for companies to increase productivity.
To some, saving time is not just about productivity.
Time is more than money. Time is quality of life. If you can cover your territory and yet get back home on a Friday night to see your son play Little League, that's a quality of life issue.
The quest for a better quality of life drove the Oracle of Omaha, billionaire investment guru Warren Buffett, to join the ranks of private jet users.
I have nothing but fun in my business, and probably the only thing that wasn't so much fun many years ago was the travel part of it. I mean, there were a lot of missed planes or delays and whatever it may be, and a lot of time wasted and a lot of energy expended. But my job is a dream now, and a plane helps in a big way. I couldn't do my job without a plane.
It's easy to understand the allure of private jets and why more people are finding ways to justify climbing aboard. The most famous name in private jets is Lear. Its name quickly became inextricably linked with private aviation as jet-setting celebrities and corporate honchos snapped them up. The plane's namesake, Bill Lear, launched an aviation revolution in October of 1963 when his prototype Learjet first took off on its maiden test flight. This was the first American jet to be designed primarily for business use. Lear thought music in the cabins would make his planes more desirable. So he developed the 8-track tape player. Ford Motor heard about it and put them in all of its cars. The 8-track faded away, but private jets continued to soar. While still confined to a rather rarefied breed, some believe private jet use could grow considerably.
It's been estimated that there are over 100,000 companies in the United States that can use this form of transportation. Yet there are only about 10,000 companies in the United States presently using this form of transportation. So the growth potential is quite significant.
Many companies have found that private jets allow them to accomplish more in a day.
Saving a couple of hours over the course of a day can allow a business to see 3, 4, 5 sites in the course of a single day, whereas if they burn up the hours in transit, they may only be able to see one customer.
The ability to see more customers in a day intrigued McKeel Haggerty, the president of a specialty insurance company that caters to classic car and boat collectors. Haggerty is constantly on the road, keeping up with his clients and their multi-million-dollar collections, a time-consuming challenge. With this in mind, Haggerty jumped at the chance to take part in a test we devised. We wanted to see if using a private jet would allow him to visit 3 sites in one day while doing some business and having some fun. He invited his fiancée and a few friends along for the ride.
Hi, TJ.
FlexJet graciously supplied one of its 9-passenger Bombardier Challenger 604s, a crew, and a full complement of snacks and food. FlexJet officials were betting the test would be a success, and Haggerty would become another private jet convert.
Well, you know, you have the folks who do it a lot, either on their company's planes, or they, family, or they know somebody. The people who have never done it, the best way to describe it is just a smile. They come off and they can't get the smile off their face, and it usually starts the minute they get on the plane.
There we go.
The passengers seemed to quickly succumb to the plane's charms.
It's pretty hard to beat it. For one thing, this one is a particularly big private plane, so you can you get a number of people in here. You can kind of move people around. We can get to a lot of different places quickly, and I can't think of anything better, really.
It's a very seductive industry. People love this type of travel.
As they cruised above 40,000 feet, they began to realize that this is beyond first class. There's nothing like sitting in a $40,000 reclining seat.
This is one of the most comfortable seats I've ever been in. Not just on an airplane, but literally anywhere.
Within 45 minutes from Los Angeles, Haggerty and friends were on the ground at their first stop, Monterey, California. 15 minutes later, they'd driven to Pebble Beach, and Haggerty was meeting with 2 potential customers. All this took less time than would normally be spent standing in line waiting for a commercial flight. Next, Monterey to Lake Tahoe. It soon became clear why flying in a private jet is so much faster. Going commercial would take almost 5 hours because of the connections. Instead, Haggerty's team was on the water about an hour after taking off. They met with one of Haggerty's clients, the largest collector and restorer of classic wooden boats. Since he'd saved so much time during the day, there was time left to play. And what better place to play than Las Vegas?
Yes, I won again!
After trying their luck, it was time to pack up their winnings and head back to the plane. But there was still more to come, including an impromptu birthday party organized by the crew for Haggerty's fiancée.
Oh my!
What an ending to this day!
We're really very much different from the airlines in that the service that we provide. We have owners who have very discriminating tastes, and they expect that kind of service, and we make sure that we take care of them.
Our test was a success. Haggerty clearly saw how a plane could enhance his life.
I think I would use one of these things in a way just like today. Today was a great example. We got to go to a couple places that are sort of hard to get to. I got to do some great business, got to have a little bit of fun.
What you find is people don't really feel the impact until after the trip. They come off the airplane, they walk into their house and they go, my gosh, I was in Las Vegas 2 hours ago in a casino and I'm standing in my doorway at home and it's only 2.5 hours ago. And that is the kind of impact that until you do it, you'll never understand.
As more people are seduced by the charms of private aviation, manufacturers are rushing to satisfy their needs.
Well, there's been an explosion in the number of new models of business jets that have come to the market over the past 10 years.
While the choices can seem endless, making a decision comes down to answering these few basic questions.
Where do you go? So how far, right? How many people do you take? How much stuff do you take with you? And probably a real key one is how much do you want to spend?
If you're new to the market and only have $3.5 to $8 million to spend, you'll probably start off looking at a light jet. The most popular light jets come from Lear, Raytheon, and Cessna. These planes can carry 5 to 8 passengers and have a range of approximately 1,000 to 2,000 miles.
We're in Los Angeles as an example. Maybe the client has his main residence here, maybe he has a house up in Aspen, maybe he's got a yacht up in Seattle, and he frequents up and down the coast, so it's a perfect airplane, for those type of flight segments.
While light jets satisfy most users' needs, some demand a little more room and range. If they're ready to spend $10 to $15 million, they can take the next step up, a medium-range, mid-sized executive jet. This class of aircraft includes the Lear 60, Hawker 800 SP, and the Hawker Horizon. For those who crave speed, the Cessna Citation 10 travels at nearly the speed of sound, making it the fastest private jet on the market. All of the mid-sized jets seat 8 to 9 passengers in a roomy stand-up cabin and have a range of about 1,500 to 3,000 miles, making them ideal for doing business throughout the United States. While mid-sized planes were fine for most, some private jet customers had longer range flight requirements. Their need spurred the creation of the heavy haulers or large executive jets, like Bombardier's Challenger 604, Dassault's Falcon 900, and the Gulfstream 4. Each capable of carrying 9 to 12 passengers, 4,000 to 4,500 miles without refueling. That's easily a trip from New York to Paris. Customers should expect to pay between $17 and $35 million for that capability. That still isn't enough range for some. Globe-straddling business executives want planes to take them even farther. Non-stop from Los Angeles to Sydney, or New York to Shanghai. Two companies introduced ultra-long-range executive jets to serve this market. First was General Dynamics with the Gulfstream 5. Bombardier followed with the Global Express. This globe hopping isn't cheap.
They're up in the $42 million range, and they have 55 to 6,000 nautical mile range. So basically, you could fly nonstop from Los Angeles to Venice or London.
But even these planes aren't big enough or grand enough for some. For those who need to take 15 to 50 people along on a trip without giving up all the luxuries of home, Boeing introduced the Boeing Business Jet, or BBJ.
There's a class of people on this planet who really are sort of above society in terms of their net worth. And they want the ability to travel comfortably from LA to London. They want a bedroom, they want a shower, they want a big dining room, and a galley. And the BBJ will give you that.
It's clear there's a plane for every need. Deciding how to pay for a jet comes next. there are several viable alternatives to outright ownership. Most people start by chartering. Charter customers pay $1,500 per hour and more for the flexibility of scheduling that makes chartering a plane almost as easy as renting a car. Many charter companies are headquartered at full-service airport facilities called fixed-based operators, or FBOs. Some operators, like Peterson Aviation, go out of their way to make sure chartering is a pleasant experience.
But when I first started this, my wife said, you know, every FBO I've seen looks terrible. Why don't you do some decorating? And so my wife went out and bought a lot of antiques that matched the California attitude. And I think that's the fun part of our base. It's not just old steel chairs.
Charter providers range from small local operations to large national organizations. While many people say that chartering isn't cost-effective, surprisingly, it can come close.
We fly quite a few charter flights that the pricing, if you were to look at 6 or 8 passengers traveling on the airlines, first-class airline tickets versus the charter price, they're very competitive.
Chartering can be competitive when used for one-day multi-stop trips. Anything other than that can result in costly dead legs. Let's say you fly from LA to New York and stay a few days. Instead of waiting for you, the chartered jet will return to its home base in LA. You'll probably be charged for that empty flight. Some charter companies are able to sell the empty leg of the trip and reimburse the customer, but don't count on it. Experts say that if you charter more than 50 hours a year, you may be ready to move up to a fractional ownership program. Fractional ownership is somewhat similar to a timeshare in a condominium. It gives you 24-hour access to your plane for a guaranteed number of hours per year, whenever you need it.
Fractional ownership is something that's captured the imagination of a lot of people. Being able to buy a half or a fourth or an eighth of an aircraft as opposed to a whole aircraft has been a tremendous advantage for a lot of people.
This concept was dreamed up by a former mathematics professor, Richard Santulli, while researching the costs of buying a plane.
When I looked at the numbers and based upon how many hours I would be flying, which was about 200, the economics made no sense to me. It was just too expensive on an hourly basis. And thought that if I could get 3 or 4 of my friends and really divide the cost of the airplane ownership experience by 4 or 3 even, the numbers can become more justifiable, at least from my perspective.
Santulli turned his research into NetJets, the first fractional ownership company. It's a concept that's attracting a growing number of business users, including fabled investor Warren Buffett.
I was paying for 100% of a plane a few years back when I had a plane for Berkshire Hathaway, but I wasn't using it 100% of the time, and I wasn't using it 50% of the time. I was using it about 25% of the time. So I was paying 4 times as much for a capital asset as I had the need for.
Buffett was so impressed with Santulli's idea that he bought the company. Buffett's financial backing has helped NetJets grow and prosper. Today, it boasts over 400 aircraft that fly over 250,000 flights a year, 2,100 pilots, and a central coordinating staff of more than 900 people. If NetJets were a commercial airline, it would be the 6th or 7th largest in the world. NetJet's success has spawned other fractional ownership companies like Bombardier's FlexJet. The concept is alluring, but it isn't cheap. Normally, it involves an upfront purchase price, a monthly management fee, and an hourly charge for your time in the sky. All combined, the least it might cost is a little over $3,000 an hour.
You're never going to go to a corporate board. You're never going to go to your CPA or your accountant and justify this airplane over commercial first-class travel. If it's going to come down to cost, then you're probably not ready to do it.
Commercial will, in 99% of the times, be less expensive. And so you're not talking about this becoming less expensive than commercial. I mean, basically what this does is just changes your life.
Marquis Jet Partners offers yet another way to travel by private jet, a debit card, entitling users to 25 hours of flight time.
So somebody wanting to be in our program would buy a card, they'd buy 25 hours, and they have 1 year to use those hours. Those hours are only deducted for time that they're in the air. And at the end of their 25 hours, they have no further obligation.
Pro golfer Jim Furyk spends a lot of time traveling to tournaments. He appreciates the simplicity of the Marquis card.
I'm very lucky with what I do. I'm able to make a very comfortable living. I'm able to travel to a lot of places, but the number one thing in every golfer's mind, the worst part about our job, and really the only part that we ever complain about, is the travel. And this just takes the worst part of my life and makes it much, much easier.
As more people begin to experience the benefits of private jet use, some will take the final step and buy their own. However, buying a plane is only the beginning of the journey into the world of private jets. One of the most appealing aspects of owning a private jet is the ability to choose your own custom interior. These planes become homes and offices in the sky, and most buyers want the interior to reflect their own tastes.
They can do it different seat configurations to accommodate the number of people that they like to travel. They can put in the type of communications equipment that they think that they're going to use. It really allows them to customize and have the kind of aircraft that will most serve their needs.
What may surprise the potential owner is that all of this can be an option that's added after they buy a raw airplane.
The big manufacturers, whether it's a Boeing or Airbus, they sell the aircraft green, meaning with no interior, and then it's up to companies like ours to customize the interior.
From their humble beginnings of installing radios into surplus aircraft, Associated Air Center was one of the first companies to install custom interiors in private planes. Today, it's one of the world's leading aircraft completion centers. Even after 50 years, each assignment is different. It all depends on the client's needs and desires.
Some people might like the bedroom in the front, and some in the middle, and some in the back, and they all have their very valid concerns or reasonings.
One of Altoona's clients, the Orlando Magic basketball team, had very specific needs. The team's pilot, Larry Henry, gave a tour.
The aircraft's divided into actually 4 compartments here. We have 2 large couches here. This next area in here, this is the coaches section. They do their pregame stuff and postgame items here. Gives them a sort of a secluded little area away from the players where they can discuss their strategies and etc. The center section here that has the majority of the seats, this is the players section. They sort of have a little informal pecking order of who sits where and what have you. We don't really have anything to do with that. That's entirely up to them. Those guys are all 7 feet tall. They can sit where they like.
Once completed, the design is turned over to Associated Air Center's artisans. They handcraft nearly every piece that goes into the airplane.
It's all custom made. It's all custom fit to this particular aircraft. And we have yet to do 2 airplanes alike.
Everything must be strong and lightweight. So instead of solid hardwoods, composite honeycombed materials are used.
So as you can see, the overall construction is very strong but very lightweight. The whole thing is very lightweight.
Fine hand-rubbed wood veneers create the illusion of solid wood furnishings. Unblemished, perfect hides are used for all of the leather upholstery. It all must pass exhaustive FAA tests.
Every single item on board an aircraft, whether it's a seat or avionics, it's all tagged with a serial number, and it has to meet, certain requirements for safety, whether it's flammability for the material like the leather or the carpeting, to the G-force in the event of an accident that the seats can hold up.
This adds to the cost. It helps to explain why one seat can run over $40,000. Install 15 or more of these custom-built seats in a plane, and suddenly you begin to see the bill take off. To avoid sticker shock, Altoona tries to make sure his customers know exactly what they'll be getting.
This is a mock-up that we built like 3 years ago, and we use during our presentations. But it's for the most part to give the customers an idea of a space, volume. So we position these chairs around and we make these board bulkheads just to give people an idea of what they are dealing with.
Once all the pieces are finished in the shop, they're taken to the hangar where the assembly begins. It's here that the interiors start to take shape. It's like putting together a large jigsaw puzzle. Everything has been pre-shaped and built to fit in just one place. The whole process usually takes 7 to 9 months to complete. This is not an impulse buy, especially when you're paying $14 million or more just for the interior. Customers expect the latest technology. Getting it all FAA approved in time can be a problem.
One thing that is always challenging and keeps you on your toes is entertainment, because the entertainment industry moves so fast. And of course, the principals come to us and say, well, I have it in my palace, I have it in my yacht, why can't I have it in my aircraft?
More like a yacht than a palace. Every inch of space must be used wisely.
We have typically a master lab with a shower and bidet, and then a bedroom with maybe a sitting area so you can have breakfast when you get out of bed. Then a guest bedroom or children's area with another guest lavatory, and then a dining room, a living room, and a galley and crew quarters or crew rest area. So ergonomically, we try to fit all these rooms in 806 square feet.
Now that you've bought your plane and outfitted the interior, it's time to fuel up and take it aloft. Safety is something everyone thinks about, whether they're flying commercially or in a private jet. Some of the first private jets had accidents because the planes were hard to handle hot rods and the pilots weren't sufficiently trained. The planes have improved dramatically, and all of the major manufacturers have stringent guidelines for pilot training. Bombardier Aerospace is the only one that has its own in-house training operation, complete with multi-million-dollar simulators. There is a different simulator for each type of plane Bombardier makes.
This simulator is the exact duplicate of the airplane, the Lear 45, and it replicates that particular airplane to the T.
I think one of the neat things about the simulator is that you can actually learn to fly without ever getting in an airplane. Not that we do it, but they are so real, and you can throw so much at somebody in a simulator like that. We can throw, weather or engine failures, all kinds of things at them, so when they're actually flying the airplanes, they're very, very well prepared.
People want to know that their pilots are well trained and that the aircraft has the most sophisticated safety equipment available. Surprisingly, many private jets have more advanced avionics than some commercial carriers.
There are a couple of reasons for that. If a company, the ABC company, has 2 or 3 airplanes and they want to add the latest collision avoidance system or the latest terrain warning system, they only have to equip 2 or 3 airplanes to do so. But if an airline must move into new technology, they have to equip a whole fleet of airplanes. So you'll find that the new technology finds its way into business jets before it finds its way into airliners.
One of the things that's common in business jets now, particularly at the upper end, are heads-up displays, where the pilot actually looks through and sees on a screen in front of them all the information they need as they look out the window of the cockpit. That's something that's only available on our military, on our high-performance jet fighters.
Some private jets are now equipped with technology that takes the guesswork out of bad weather flying and landing. Gulfstream has developed an enhanced vision system that allows pilots to see through the clouds. It gives them a picture of an airport, even if it's fogged in. The difference between commercial and private aviation doesn't stop with technology. When a commercial flight can't land in bad weather and has to divert, the airline will go wherever it's convenient for them. The result? Passengers often end up being stranded. On the other hand, the major private jet providers have staff meteorologists assigned to track the weather. They determine what's convenient for their customers, no matter what the conditions. Their job is to find a way around any obstacle and to safely get you to your destination.
We had an issue where a pilot called me from the air. There was a hurricane off the west coast of Mexico, and he was concerned about getting in. And looking at satellite and looking at some observations, I said, you'll be able to get in between the rain bands. And we went in, dropped the passengers off, got out, and everyone was happy.
Private jets offer a lot of flexibility, and the manufacturers have made a tremendous effort to make flying safer.
If you look at the record of business aviation, it's the safest mode of transportation. In every environment, there are accidents that occur. I think business aviation has done a pretty good job of going back and understanding the root causes.
But before booking a flight with a private jet provider, it's still a good idea to check their safety records. While safety is critical, it's also important for globe-hopping travelers to think about security. Globalization has made security a top priority for business jet users. People like former Israeli counterintelligence agent Izzy Boim, who helped develop Israel's El Al Airlines' vaunted air security systems, are turning their attention to private jet flyers.
You go to places that you and me haven't heard about them, and we haven't even dreamt that there is actually a runway there. And they go. This is globalization today.
Former U.S. Secret Service agent Stephen Barrow spent 23 years protecting 5 presidents and numerous heads of state. He feels that security needs to be a part of every executive's travel plans.
The threats are real. If you pick up any paper on any given day, you'll see that situations have taken place that place executives, corporations, their employees at risk.
As a first step, Boim and others are making sure that the crews are trained.
We need to put security measures in order so the captain and the first officer, the flight attendant, if you join the flight, they know these are the rules.
Very good, sir. I understand we're going to Cabo San Lucas today. It is becoming part of our routine. Anything that's practiced over and over becomes routine.
It can start with a simple but complete visual inspection of the airplane.
Basically, the job is to be sure that there isn't anything added to the aircraft that doesn't need to be there. Something that we don't know about, something that should not have been put there. And we check all of the cavities and every place that somebody might be able to put something on the aircraft, and we're pretty thorough about it.
When leaving the plane, crews can secure it using a low-tech solution, a sticker.
Now, once that's on there, if it's taken off for any reason, then it will show stress marks and void marks, and we'll know that the tape's actually been taken off.
This telltale signal is enough to alert the crew that someone has tried to tamper with the plane.
And the tape, as you can see, is not usable. It can't be put back on again so that it looks like it hasn't been opened.
An airplane is vulnerable. Keeping it secure is important.
This airplane is not driving on the freeway. This airplane is going to be 35,000 feet above seabed. So we need to make sure that nobody had any opportunity to put something or to install something without our knowledge.
One way to ensure that a jet hasn't been tampered with is to set up a portable sensor system. This surrounds a plane with an electronic shield.
Well, the private jet user would land their aircraft in perhaps an unsophisticated, unprotected environment, easily deploy a security system around that plane, take the radio with them. If there's an intrusion, the radio will make them aware of an intruder and where the intruder is.
Once an alert is received, someone can determine if the intruder is friendly or hostile.
Intruder detector 1, Centaur 740. Intruder detector 1, Centaur 740.
Adding a camera allows the user to monitor the security of the plane from a remote location.
The camera remains dormant for much of the time, and when an intruder comes in, it will illuminate the camera, hence the screen. You'll see who is there, if they are friendly or foe. But you should know who is coming to your aircraft at all times.
Securing the plane is a start, but passengers need to leave the plane and return. In some high-risk areas of the world, this can be dangerous. Government officials and corporate executives are increasingly turning to experts in personal protection and special operations, like J. Kelly McCann.
There are things that are immutable truths, things that you cannot control. Are there bad guys in the world? Yes. Do they want your stuff? Yes. Can you do things to mitigate or lessen the likelihood of your victimization? Absolutely, yes.
Enlisting the aid of protective details, people who are trained to whisk their clients out of danger when confronted by gunmen, is becoming common in areas prone to kidnapping.
Most Fortune 500 companies have a K&R insurance plan, kidnap and ransom insurance plan. To even talk about the details of those plans nulls and voids the plan, so it's a very well-kept secret. However, in countries where abduction is a cottage industry, they know that if they grab a Fortune 500 person, they're likely to get some money for them.
Unlike flying on a commercial airline, it's all up to the traveler. Even if they have a corporate security department, it's necessary to insist that the in-house team is doing their job.
Don't take for granted that the security measures that you see would be the absolute security. Today, when we are aware that we are under threat, we need to make sure that we are taking some precautions.
Now that the jet is safe and the passengers are secure, it's time to have some fun. A private jet can open up the world in ways you've never dreamed of before. Most people plan a vacation weeks in advance. They look to see where they want to go, check flight schedules, and figure out how many connecting flights they can endure before arriving at their destination. What if you could simply call your pilot and tell them you want to avoid those hassles? With a private jet, you can. And when island fever takes hold, you can quickly get away to a secluded destination. Remote, out-of-the-way islands with no direct commercial flights are yours to explore. But why stop at one?
You could go to 4 or 5 absolutely astounding places in one day where you couldn't do it in a week any other way.
What people buy is an absolute experience that makes travel easy.
Ease and comfort are what it's all about. But some people aren't content just vacationing and doing business with their private jet. They want to be able to live with it. Across the country, private aviation communities or air parks are sprouting up.
Air parks have been tremendously successful. This gives an opportunity to live on the airport itself and have your garage be your hangar.
Spruce Creek in Daytona Beach, Florida, was one of the first fly-in communities in the United States.
We have a Learjet, and we've flown out of here for the last 14 years.
It's just the most wonderful place in the world to live, Spruce Creek.
Many of the homes have attached hangars. Other residents have to use a community hangar or park their plane at a friend's house.
My daughter's son, my grandson, he had his own plane, and he keeps his plane at her hangar. And my son, who lives about a taxiway down, we all fly. It's a flying family.
Air parks are perfectly suited for flying enthusiasts and their friends.
It's really convenient living in an air park because you've got your airplane right there. You save the time and the hassle of loading everything up, taking it to the airport, loading the airplane up. We just carry everything right out there and leave from home.
The most ambitious air park to date is Jumbo-Air in Ocala, Florida. It will eventually offer residents a gated community with its own country club, a bed and breakfast, an equestrian center, and a health club. To some, its main attraction is the 7,500-foot runway that can accommodate any size plane, from a small jet up to a commercial airliner. This flexibility could make Jumbo-Air the ultimate air park community. Air parks could be the first step toward a future where cars are replaced by private jets. Scientists at NASA's Langley Research Center have teamed up with civilian contractors to help make this future a reality. They envision developing a system that will make flying more like your morning commute. Their research is beginning to bear fruit.
What we have been doing over the last 10 years is to develop the technologies for the next generation of aircraft that are now beginning to emerge in the marketplace. And you're going to see some of those airplanes over the coming 2, 3, 4 years.
Eclipse Aviation of Albuquerque, New Mexico, is developing a microjet that is seen as a step toward this future. It will sell for under $1 million, inexpensive enough to compete with conventional prop planes. The Eclipse could make air travel more affordable and jet ownership more practical. The Eclipse's optimistic developer, Vern Rayburn, believes the plane will help change the way we travel.
We think the Eclipse is going to create an alternative to the current air transportation solutions. So that's everything from large air transport aircraft down to the very expensive but very nice corporate jets. So the Eclipse 500 becomes an alternative to each and every one of those components in the current air transportation business.
Plus 30 right there.
Yeah.
The ongoing cooperation between NASA and aviation manufacturers promises to make jets safer and easier for more people to fly.
At what point does the technology enable the tasks to become sufficiently easy to learn that people could safely learn how to do this, say, in high school as part of driver's ed? Now, I know that's pretty far-fetched, but the question not is, can it happen? The question is, when could it happen?
It's exciting to think in terms of air transportation, particularly owner-flown air transportation, being to the 21st century what the automobile was to the 20th century.
In the last century, we put wheels on America, with the inventions of Henry Ford and creation of the interstate highway system. In the 21st century, private jets could put wings on America.
Whether the future will land a private jet in every driveway is debatable. But one thing is certain, private jet use will continue to soar.